This whole Ukraine episode of the Forever War is more and more like a caricature every day. In the first place, it's not a Ukrainian war. That we have to abandon that propaganda narrative that we have been aiding and abetting. It's not a war. The Ukrainians did this, the Russians did this, the Ukrainians did this, the Russians did this. That's not what's happening. It has always been a proxy war of the combined West against Russia. Absolutely. Every bit of that is true. And now even the word proxy is getting to be a little creaky, because all they're using is foreign investment in weapons, the missiles that shoot further, uranium depleted weapons. All of those things are overseen by NATO and by the U.S. And what gives an interesting kind of light shown into this idea of it being just another chapter of the Forever War is this weird foreign trip of Zelensky. You now have the Ukrainian president going to the Germans to ask the Germans to be the greatest provider of weapons in his fight against Russia. Is this 1939? Is W.H. Auden gonna, write about this? Is Stepan Bandera actually alive? What is this? And the trouble is that that's exactly what it is a replay of the end of World War II, which, let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. It didn't end the way the West wanted, okay? From a space that the Nazis share. All the Nazis, I don't mean the German word Nazi. It's a great thing. It sounds cool just to say Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. But Nazi isn't a German tradition. And they were not the only Nazis around. In fact, they shared all that space with Bandera, with half the aristocracy of the British Empire, with all of the great titans of American corporations that were building up Hitler to ruin Russia. This is what happens with exceptionalists, supremacists. It's okay to kill the people who live on the land that you want to take back. And you can flip on, either way you want from that time to now. Both I and the public know what all school children learn. That those to whom evil is done do evil in return. And this is what is happening and what is going to happen. The ending is no different. The movie's the same. The Russians, Soviets, lost 27 million people. And it might as well have happened yesterday. The same people are providing the same weapons to the same people. And these are the samosas. This is the origin of the proxy. Older than samosa, older than savak, older than settlers in South Africa. Well, maybe not, I don't know. But certainly Bandera is revered in this corner, the northwest corner of Ukraine, for making it free from 1939 to 1945. How? By slaughtering tens of thousands of Poles, Russians, Jews, friends of Hitler. Friends of Hitler have never been enemies of the United States and its policy machinations. They're the first ones that they went to. And one of the first things they do is demonize the hell out of everything that has anything to do with those people. And the attack, the slaughter on Russian language, Russian tradition, Russian history is mind-blowing. So much so that Americans don't even know how brain dead they are. And they should, if so many of us come from Ireland, and we had to suffer historically what the British do, which is sell the narrative that Irish are all drunks anyway, and they're lazy, and they're most likely terrorists. So we just march in with Cromwell and slaughter them all and take that land. And you have that resonance of that war and the World War II, all of these wars come back and feed into each other. What the Wolf Tones sang, in the 70s, when they said, Cromwell's men are here again. England's name again is sullied in the eyes of honest men. And it is ridiculous to think that you can change that history is just the long arm of a clock that you can push if you have enough neocons running things and enough capitalists on your payroll. You can stop that hand. You can move it. Guess what? You can't. And the Russians know it. What are you going to do? Bring in all sorts of long-range? Well, we'll blow them up where they are. These go 300 or 400 kilometers, then I guess that decides how far in we need to push. None of this shit is going to be a threat to Russia, period. And Americans, the neocons who run things, they don't understand, partly because they come out of this tradition. The King of England was pro-Nazi. He had to abdicate partly because of that. Truman said, well, if the Russians win, then we'll, help the Germans. If the Germans win, we'll help the Russians. Today, in 2023, there is a woman sitting as an advisor to President Biden saying, well, you know what? Hitler may have been controversial, but, nobody really sings his praises for fighting communism to his death. What is this? It's okay to be soft on Hitler now? Then what the hell was that all for? We know what it was all for. And guess what? It had very little to do with communism. I'm sorry. I don't buy that. I know that that's the narrative, but it's about Russia. It's not about Lenin or Stalin or even Marx. It's about Mackinder, about the heartland, about preventing anyone from uniting that central heartland of, fast forward, Russia and China. And that is the threat. And guess what? The irony is that these people are so arrogant and so full of themselves that they can't see that they have made that even more inevitable than time itself. Russia and China are now joined at the hip because they know their existence depends on it. These are not proxies. These are fingers of a long-armed puppet. They're dangerous, and they are threats everywhere, just like you do at a dinner party of friends you don't really like. You nod and smile, find the exit and jump and run to it as quick as you can when it feels like you're in danger. And that is what the West is facing. They can't help it. This is the demise of their control for the last 500 years. It will yield incredible shortages and difficulties in the lives of the hundreds of millions of us who live under the Western regime. But the party's over.